Welcome to Blind Faith Live. Real people, real miracles. Complete new episodes every Tuesday. But in addition, here is this week's featured Issam's Insights with Dr. Issam Nemeh.
They are not going to be included. And a lot of Christians think, oh, they are going to be included. No, they are not going to be included.
If Christ came today for his church, most Christians would be left behind. Welcome again. My name is Philip Keller. I'm legally blind, and this is Blind Faith Live. Real people, real miracles.
The church is going to be gone. That's the event that we've been talking about. It's not going to be here. We've been talking about the child being born and lifted up and to heaven. That's the only picture I get.
Is there anything about, we've talked about this country is a Christian nation. We're at that forking in the road. Which way is America going to go? Christians are so confused. I'm reading a book right now, and it's called God's Chaos Candidate. And it talks about we kind of need a wrecking ball to all of this, and there is a wrecking ball out there. One of the things that I found interesting in the book was one of the observations, which is, there may be no larger constituency than Christians, but we are so scattered. We are just all over the board. It seems like a whole bunch of lost sheep that Jesus is trying to round up. Is that what it is?
That's what I've been seeing. I mean, look at all the events and everything that is happening is forcing us to take a stand, form an opinion, make a decision about which way to go. That's very clear to me, and that's God's hand in it. He is forcing us to be hot or cold. Purification. That's the purification of the church, of the Christians in general. And then you are marked, and we talked about that marking. Becomes very visible. I could perceive it right away. Even without talking to the people, I recognize who is connected, who is not connected, who is lacking.
So any kind of level of understanding of picking up your cross and following, it's there. Those people have an opportunity to leave with the church when the church departs. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they will be subjected to that final act of mercy, the examination of conscience, and the knowing about your state of being, how much you are lacking, what kind of sin you are in. That's the type of knowledge that is going to be infused during that moment, so people will realize fully their shortcomings and their sins, and so they can surrender them, and that's a final act of mercy. Finalizing that dispensation of mercy. And that's the end of the age of the church. And the first resurrection will take place.
When you talk about the baby being lifted up during this time and Revelation chapter 12 and everything that we've talked about, there's 2 billion, is that right? 2 billion Christians on this planet, something like that? 2 billion, right?
Around that.
Yeah. How many of that 2 billion do you think is part of this, that event?
Very few.
Really?
Yes. Very few.
Because our definition of Christian isn't necessarily the real definition.
It's not. A lot of people are confused.
It's interesting in this book, God's Chaos Candidate. He walked into a group of evangelical pastors, and one of them was the gentleman who wrote the book. And one of the first questions, or one of the first statements Trump made was, he looked at the group and said, "You're too soft. You've gone too soft." And then it went into talking about how the left and the progressive agenda has become stronger and stronger, and the Christian influence in this country is getting weaker and weaker. And he says, "You've gotten too soft." Then he stopped and he said, "We've gotten too soft. As a Christian bloc, we've gotten very soft."
I mean, what do you expect if even the hierarchy of the church is unable to see the sin, the clear-cut sin, as a sin? Mm-hmm. Confusing a lot of young people because they think a certain way of life is right because the Pope said so. I mean, this is an abomination.
Well, no one's sure what the Pope said. That's the problem. He's vague. He'll say one thing, and then someone will say, "Did he mean this or that?" And then he'll say something else. Well, did he mean this or that?
And that's how the world is today. It's about the lie. Everybody is lying. They belong to that father of all lies. That's what it is. And a lot of Christians are confused. The same way. They claim to be Christians, and yet they behave in such a way they are non-Christian. Actually, I prefer the non-Christian over the Christian that is that kind of negative. You see? Because, and that's what Jesus meant. You are not hot, you are not cold, you are lukewarm. Or lukewarmness is deadlier than the enemy of the church. Because it's from within. So we claim to be Christians, and yet we are not. So we're more destructive, and even more destructive for the other people that are looking at us as Christians and trying to find some inspiration to belong to it. When they look at us and see the way we are living, automatically they are going to reject Christianity in general. It reminds me of Gandhi, what he said,
What was that?
before. I mean, he loves Jesus, whatever, but he looks at the Christians, and it shows him a completely different picture. And that's the state Christianity is in today.
Go into that, because I think it was in the movie, too. There was some reference made to his feeling about Christians. Go into that. What did he say?
I mean, the principle he believed in fully, but he looked at how the way the Christians are living and acting, and it tipped him the other way.
Because it went against the teachings of Christ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where we are today. We should be ashamed of ourselves. I mean, basic principle is pro-life. How could you go and vote for somebody that is for killing? And you call yourself a Christian? You are not going to be counted in between those who are going to be included in the marriage feast of the Lamb. They are not going to be included. And a lot of Christians think, oh, they are going to be included. No, they are not going to be included.
Because there's no way Christ would side with that.
Exactly. They are the enemies, actually. It's better to get out of the church than belong to it. And it's going to drive us that way, actually. The purification is going to drive us that way. And it will end up persecuting the solid ones. And that's what the whole period today is all about. And it says, woman is suffering. You see, and he was waiting for that child to be born to devour it, to finish it up and get rid of those solid ones. So he'll have a heyday, have the freedom of confusing the whole church. That's why he said we have a wolf in lambskin. I mean, you look at the healthcare issue alone is enough to drive people crazy right now.
Those in control at the top are getting exactly what they had hoped for. If you listen to the clips of what has been said in years past by Obama and all, it is going exactly where they want it to be, which is the government running the whole show.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is something related to what you have said, which is there's a point, once the government gets a hold of it, then they can deny you care, can't they?
They can right now are starting to do that.
Mm-hmm. Which is also part of the plan.
Part of the plan, yes, limiting the population.
That's just so sick.
It's very sick. And there are many things that pertain to the same subject. Not only denying the care. You have a lot of other things that are influencing the whole society. Examples of that, chemicals we've been using and all of that. Look at the same spirit that applies. It's similar to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They used uranium. Enriched bombs. A huge number of children are born defective and all of that, and they have a lot of cancers. And the same spirit eradicating the population. Same evil spirit applies.
Anti-life.
Anti-life. Mm-hmm. But, looking at all the events and everything that is happening to us as Christians, it reminds me of the parable, parable of the sower. He sowed good seed, and then another one came after him, and he sowed bad seed. So the workers went to the landlord. They told him, that's what happened. What could we do? He said, don't worry about it. Let them grow up together. And when they are ripe, then we'll separate the wheat from the chaff. And the events today is such, it's separating the wheat from the chaff. It's a clear-cut thing, and the Lord is preparing us for His event. It's as simple as that. You will be righteous. You act in a righteous way. You are confused. You are going to belong to the world. So you have to belong. You have to be separating. We are separating ourselves from each other anyway, right now. So you stand for life. You are going to be part of the wheat. You don't stand for life. You are going to be part of the chaff. And God help everybody afterwards.
Thank you, Dr. Issam Nemeh, the physician of unshakable faith. Here on Blind Faith Live, real people, real miracles. Complete new episodes every Tuesday. See you then. I'm Philip Keller.